everybody, CW here. I got a little bit of case maintenance to do and I thought I might take you along. I had a number of these videos on the other channel and of course we all know they're all gone now. So I thought I would just touch on a few points for new reloaders about case prep. Now this is going to be single stage. You can see here. This is going to be 6mm Remington, and it's applicable to almost all centerfire rifle calibers, loaded single stage. Single stage meaning one operation at a time. This brass has already been deprimed, it's been cleaned, and it's ready to be prepped. We've already gone through this. I have, and this has been annealed. It's been fired twice. It's been trimmed. We're going to check all that here today. We're going to start out with resizing, and this is your time to look at each piece of brass, inspect it for any kind of problems, cracks, any swells, any bulges, any problems with the rims, anything at all that you see with your cases. And it's something that's really important because you don't want to be producing, spending much time and energy into something that's going to be wasted. This being the case, it's the foundation of everything. Everything for your cartridge attaches or needs this to work. So let's start out. We're going to lube these by hand, one at a time. This is unique Hornady case lube. You can use Lee's version. You can use Imperial sizing wax, which is something I love. I prefer it, but I've pretty much, here's the Lee stuff. I've pretty much, where is it? Here, there you go. I've pretty much settled on sticking with this Hornady and using the case wax for forming cases. It's probably just as good as any of this other stuff. It's just what I prefer, what I've always used. I consider that Imperial to be top shelf, the best you can get, and use it for the hardest uses, which is case forming. We're just resizing. So basically, these are not overly hot loads. So basically, we're just squeezing down this portion here and just a tiny bit through the neck. We've got this die set up to bump this shoulder about 2/1000, 2.5 thousandths. That's not something we're going to go over here today, but that's in die setup. All right, you don't need a lot. All I did was tap my finger on that lube. I'm just going to rub my finger inside. You can see there's a huge amount of lube inside that case. That's more than you need. You're going to have to clean that out. And then just rub the walls of the case. Now I like to have a rag in my hand. I'm going to use that to clean the case after it's sized, but I'm also using it now to keep lube off the rim, the neck and the shoulder. You do not want lubrication on those 2 points. Put it in your die, down, all the way down, all the way back up. Out of here, back into your rag, and wipe everything off. Give it a good look again. Make sure you've got no cracks, nothing has happened. Cracks will occur generally after sizing, after you drag the mandrel, which is inside your die, back through the neck. That forms your neck to the size that it needs to be. You can adjust the diameter of that expander ball mandrel to give you the neck tension you're looking for if you really want to fine-tune your hand loads. All right, so last thing is, this is a Remington case. We've got some Remington and some Winchesters here, and we're going to separate them as we go. Again, the same thing. Just a couple of pats, a couple of wipes to get lube inside the neck, and then just another pat, and you wipe the outside of the case. It's not going to feel greasy. It's just going to feel a little bit slippery. You do not need a whole lot of lubrication. Less is more. You're not going to stick a case as long as you've got lubrication covering that the whole sides of that case. Now you can see here, a shiny spot forming on the side of that case. That is not immediately a problem. It's something to look for and something to be aware of. And what you're looking at is case flow. The case is super thick through the base here and a little bit up the walls. And then it gets abruptly skinny, thin, all the way up. And it maintains a pretty uniform thickness all the way up here, meaning it's probably only changing a few thousandths of an inch in thickness from here all the way up to the tip where it's about 13 or 14 thousandths thick. So I'm going to say right about here it probably drops to 25 or so thousandths thick, and then it tapers from that down to say 15 thousandths before it makes into the shoulder and the neck. Now that's just a general number. They're going to vary a little bit, but I say it just to show you, to demonstrate the amount and how the speed of that dropping off from, you know, that thick into the walls to basically 25 or 30 thousandths, and then down probably within this far, it's probably down to 15 or 17 and then tapers to here. So it's an abrupt change. Now, when we're done here, I'll show you real quick a way to look at that from the inside to see if it's a problem. I'm pretty sure it's not a problem. I know these cases. You know, you can see before the sizing, there's really not much there. There's a little bit, you can see a little bit of a, I won't even call it a bulge. You can see a little bit of a swell if you look really close. You can see right through here, right above where that bright spot was, that there's a little bit of an expansion. And what that is that's your chamber dimension. When you fired this, the case swelled to that dimension because that's where it got thin. Back here where it's real thick, it didn't change, didn't get bigger, because it basically can't. The brass is supporting it 100%. Up in here, it's swelled to the case chamber dimensions. Let's lube this one up again. Same thing. A little bit of lube on your finger, inside the case neck. What that's going to do for you is, number one, it's going to worry about sticking. But number two, it's going to try and control the amount of stretch that you get because of the resistance of that ball being dragged back out through the neck of that case. Now you're going to see a shiny spot right after this because of the sizing. And that's that bulge or swell that's in that case that was removed. That's why I'm telling you, or why I'm advising you, that I do not think that that is really a big deal. Case separation is what I'm getting at. That's not necessarily a problem. It's not really case separation that you're seeing. It's merely that the brass is being worked by the die to that point and down, that point and back to the neck. Here and down, it's not. But again, I'll show you here in a few minutes. So that's a Winchester case. All right, let me put you on pause, and I'll come back when we get the next step. Okay, we've got them all done. Now we're going to go over and we're going to clean the primer pockets. We're going to check for overall length, trimming them, and we're going to clean out the necks. So we don't need our rag right now, and we're going to start with the Winchester cases. Now this is just a case prep center station. This is the one I like, but the Lyman is real good. Frankfurt Arsenal has one that's really good. The reason I like this one is it's got an extra station. It's got 6, but these 2 here are on a different gear ratio than these 4. So these are going to spin faster with lower RPMs of the motor when I turn it all the way up. So let's just start it and just barely get it spinning. You can see how these 2 here spin faster than these 4. So when we turn it up, we got a lot more speed here than we do out here. Out here we don't need a lot of speed. Here it's helpful. But also this has got a variable speed, which a lot of them don't have. So you can turn it down to make less noise. We're going to start out with, and it's also got 2 stations over here. You can put whatever you want in them. It's just standard threads. And these are the tool handles that you can get with tools. This is an RCBS, this is a Lyman. They do the same thing. Same threads in all of these. So you could put a brush in one of these if you wanted to. I just happen to have a small primer and a large primer uniformer, then a case trimmer, and then an inside flash hole deburring tool. This has got a collar on it, so it cannot go too deep. It cannot take away support and important brass from the inside of your case, like some YouTubers will tell you it can do. It can't. That collar stops it on the inside and only cuts it as much as you want it to. So it's just set to remove any burr that might be there. And also uniform the flash hole diameter. So let's put this back over here. Now we're going to clean out the case neck. And this is just a nylon brush. And what I do is I clean that brush with brake clean or carb cleaner every couple of times I use it. So there, we've just taken the majority of the lube out of the neck. Yeah, there's a little bit left in there, but it's a grossly reduced amount from what was there. And it's actually going to help with this Lee trimmer. Now we need to have the other part of the tool here from Lee to use this. And the way this tool works is the back of this, and this is real cheap, and this is a great thing Lee makes. The back of this tool screws onto their shell holder, proprietary for their tool. And the end of this pin rides right on that hardened surface. And that is all set up to cut the proper length for whatever caliber you have. So you just screw it on like that, you put it on here, and you push it down. Now it's actually cutting a little bit. Let's turn it up just a little bit. And it stops cutting. It's done cutting. And it's uniform. And I think you can see it there. And then we just go over here. And this is deburring the outside. And you don't have to really rotate it, but you got to move it around. Envision what it's doing. You want to take off that burr. We're going real slow, so that amount of time did not remove too much material. If you're spinning it real fast, you can't hold it on there too long because you'll actually thin and remove too much material from your cases. This one here cuts a lot faster, so that's all we're going to do. Now this process here with the deburring has already been done, so I don't have to redo it. These cases, this is something you only have to do once. But we do want to clean the primer pockets. This one's not too bad. We're going to go over here and just give it a spin back and forth. That's going to loosen up whatever's in there. Then we're going to go in the large primer pocket uniformer, and we're going to spin that in there, and that's going to give us a good flat uniform primer pocket. And there's one case done. Let's do another one here. Let's start with the primer pocket. Just back and forth. I'm just spinning it, loosening up anything that might be in there, and then holding it on this cutter flush. And again, this can't cut too deep either because the base of the case rides on that flat surface, shiny surface there. So this can only cut as deep as that allows. So that's all it can cut. You can't go too much, so don't worry about that. Back into the Lee tool here for the trimmer. Back down here. It's got a spud in it. It's the right diameter. That little bit of lube that was in here, I don't think we cleaned the lube out, will help when it rides on this. All the way down and just push. It is cutting some, and it's done. And you can tell very easily when it's done. Leaves a little bit of a burr, perfectly flush. Just go over here and just rock it. You can feel what it's done. And then in here, just for a second, give it a twist, and you're done. That case is done. Now this case has previously been neck turned for thickness, so I know this neck is all uniform in thickness. That really doesn't have to be done again. That's going to be good for the life of this case. This case has probably got a few more firings in it. I'm going to show you one more thing. Let me finish all these up and come right back, and I'll show you the one last thing, and we're going to address how to check this if it's a problem. Stand by. Here's another view for you. I'm thinking you can see everything. At least I hope you can. Clean the lube out. Brush any big debris out of the primer pocket. Cut and clean the primer pocket. Install the case into the Lee tool. Trim it. I will have a lot. Deburr the outside. Invert the inside. One more time. Clean the lube off the inside of the neck, or out of the inside of the neck. Brush any big debris out of the pocket. Uniform the pocket. Install the Lee tool for trimming. See, that one had next to nothing. And that's what you'll find. Depending on your load, depends on how much it needs to be trimmed. Stand by. Here's the last step. This is the RCBS Case Master gauge set, and this does a number of things that are really helpful and useful. You can set this up. Let me see if I can get you set up a little different. I want to get you more eye level here. Sorry for the moving around and making you dizzy. I want to get you more like this and then backed out all the way. Okay. You can see pretty much the way I want you to see now. Okay. So, although this isn't going to be a prep or an explanation of this tool, I really just want to show you two of its things. And one of them is case neck thickness. This little post here and this little sleeve with the gauge on it are made to read case neck thicknesses. Now you set this up ahead of time. Here's your needle stop. You adjust it to 0 and you set it so it's sitting right here on this sleeve. As the sleeve goes up, the needle moves. And then on this post here, you put your case, you lift up your sleeve, you pinch your case. Now you watch your needle and you spin your case. Now this is where it's imperfect because as I do this, I make it do funny numbers. So you got to kind of keep it steady to where it is. And we are running right about 14 to 15 thousandths. 13 and a half, 14 and a half, 15, maybe not. Yeah, not quite. Okay, so that's one thing this tool does for you. But something else it does is with this little arm back here. Now let me see if I can reset you up a little more and then zoom you in. Put you in the center of the screen. And then zoom you in on this little arm here. Okay, there you are. Now this arm has a little bitty bend in it with a little pointer on it. And you set it on the side here to be whatever you want. Distance, position, whatever. I just put it back there because it's easy for me. What this is going to do is, this is going to do what the old bent paper clip trick, if you've heard of that one. And that's going to check for case head separation back in here on the inside of your case. So you put it inside the neck, you push it all the way down until it stops, and you pull it, you just go back and forth. So now just that little tip is going to be riding on the inside of your case. So over here with the neck, you can't really see, but see the neck here? Lift it up so it's not, see what I'm looking at over there? Lift it up so it's not dragging. And then feel back here where that tip is. And there's nothing there. It's perfectly smooth. Spin the case a little. Do it again. Nothing there. Perfectly smooth. Spin it again. Nothing there. That case is fine. Grab another case. You should do all of them, but if you've got them from a universal source, from Universal Firings, generally speaking, you're not going to have a great deal of difference between one another. You could, so by rights you should test them all, but there you go. You decide for yourself. We're all adults here. Push it all the way in until it reaches the bottom, and then pull it back out, back and forth, and see if you feel a step. If you get a bad case, you will feel it. There will be a ledge there. There'll be a dip. You won't be able to slide it back and forth so smooth and so easy. It's going to have a depression there if you've got case head separation starting. Case head separation is nothing more than the case stretching away from the head of the brass. That's why it's called case head. This is the case, this is the head, poop, it separates, and it leaves a ring right there, and it cuts right in half. And that's usually caused by headspace problems. If you don't have good headspace in your rifle or firearm, you can get case head separation. Pretty much you're gonna have a little bit of it regardless, because cases will flow, brass will flow depending on the pressure of your cartridge. If you've got a really low pressure cartridge, you're probably never ever going to see it. Ever. This is part, and bottlenecks are worse for it than straight wall. This is why you'll hear a lot of people say, I've never trimmed a 57 Magnum or a 44 Magnum in my life, because they're lower pressured. They're run around 35,000 PSI or cup, and they're straight wall. So generally speaking, you won't see that kind of problems with those kind of cases. But once you step into bottleneck, you're at least into 50,000, most of them, 50,000 copper units, up to, 65, 67,000 in some calibers. Some are way up there. The 270 is pretty hot. It's loaded to some pretty high pressures. It's one of our higher ones. And you're going to see case flow. You're going to have to trim your cases regularly. And where do you think that brass is coming from? It's coming from the whole case. The whole case stretching and making it longer every time you fire a high potency or a high pressure cartridge. And then when you size it, you're pulling that mandrel, that expander ball through your neck, further stretching that case out. So that's the reason for that. So there's what that tool is for. And you can go inside and feel every one of them. Now this is the one that we said, one of the first cases that we were worried about. Remember the ring there? And you can see now that it's basically from the sizing die. But we're going to check it. We'll check it right here. Push it on there all the way down, and then feel. You can feel it scratching the inside of that case, but there's no step there. There's no ring there forming. There's nothing inside there that tells me that I've got an incipient case head separation to worry about. And that's why I said, although it doesn't look great, I'm not worried about it. That's why, because I know the brass, I know the number of firings, I know my chamber, and I know what I've seen. So you can't make that assumption without a lot of experience. So don't just jump to that conclusion. If you see a ring forming on your brass, it's very safe to assume you've got a case head issue of some kind. Not necessarily so, but quite possibly something going on. It could just be heavy loads. It could just be a tiny bit of headspace issue, and that's all it's going to do. You don't know, but this is the reason we check. This is the reason these tools are made. All right, everybody, there's more to case prep, but these are just kind of the basics that I look at and I go through. Forgot where that was. It's a Winchester. In a basic reloading session with my brass. So there you go. You can see over here, I got a couple of revolvers out here. We got a sneak peek of something going on. I'm waiting for a part to come in, and I'm gonna have another video made. That one's probably gonna be over on Rumble because they don't like to show manufacturer, and this is borderline manufacturer, mounting a scope. So I don't want to have an issue. So look for that pretty soon. Meanwhile, we're done here. Please check us out tonight on Georgia Shooters, 8 o'clock on the Georgia Shooters Connection channel. Jamie and Kyle and I are going to have a show every Friday night, 8 o'clock for 2 hours. And we'd love to have you stop by and say your 2 cents and give us some ideas and comment and contribute. God bless everybody.